Now the functions that are available for us to use in measures, here if you click that FX button, it will open up all the functions that are available. Okay? There are most of the functions from the Excel, regular Excel, are available here also, but there are some differences. Okay? So you have to be careful. There are a bunch of them, so we'll look at some of them, not all of them. All right, and these are also grouped by categories. So if you look at parent-child, then only the parent-child functions will appear. So if you select text, so the text-related functions will appear for you to choose from. Okay. So now let's suppose that we want to look at what is the sales per transaction, average sales per transaction or average sales per day, okay, how many days that we had sales and so on. Okay, suppose we want to count in this table how many days we had sales and what is sales per transaction and sales per day. Okay, suppose if that's what we want, and you want that for different months or any product, any dimension. Okay, so let's start with counting rows, right? So transactions, so we can go ahead and type transactions equals colon equal to, right? Now count rows is a function available, and for that the argument is a table. You provide a table or a table expression. Okay. So now we're going to look save. Okay, I think this will work. But we can provide the table name. So if table name is not provided, it is the default is the table in which the measure is created. So right now it's giving you the total number of rows in the table. Okay. In the table we have 60,398, the entire table. Okay. All right, now if you go to here and let's say we create a new pivot table, right? And we use month name as rows and transactions here. Okay. Again, that measure is now being, the values for the measure is calculated based on the filter context. The filter context here is the row context and column context. So for each row, the month is used to filter the transactions, and then it is just counted. Okay, right. Look at how the count works. So right now there is no filter context, so the entire table gets counted. But when you use it in the pivot table, okay, before the operation of the formula is applied, the filter context is used to filter the transaction. So for January, this table will be filtered, only January records will be taken out, and then this count rows will be applied to that filtered table. So that will give you how many records are in January or how many transactions were there in January, right? Okay, now let's look at one more. Suppose we want to see how many days were, the selling days, how many days we sold stuff, right? So days selling, again colon equal to, all right. There is another function called distinct count. Okay. Distinct count has for argument a column name. So if you provide a column, then in that column the distinct count will go and look at how many distinct values are there and count that. All right. So I'm going to give the field name order date. So right there. Now what this will do is it will go and look at the order date column and then see how many unique values there are. Right? So the unique date values tell us how many days we had sales. Okay? So now we want to compute sales per day. Okay. How much did we sell per day? Okay. So sales per day is, we can take total sales. Okay. So the item name preceded by this summation sign means it's a measure. Okay. If it is preceded by fx, then that is a function. Okay. And if it is okay, if it has a table kind of icon, so that means it is a column. Okay. So sales per day would be total sales, right, divided by days selling. Okay. So this will give you the dollar worth of sales per day. And sales per transaction, that will be total colon equal to total sales, okay, divided by transactions, right? Okay, our operation is in progress. Sales per transaction to total sales divided by transactions. Okay, so now these two measures I need to format. The other two are numbers, so you don't have to worry about that. So I'll do currency, 0 decimal places. Okay. All right, so now let's head over to Excel and let's insert pivot table. All right, so now we're going to do month name, or let's build on this. So there is month name. Okay, so transactions is already there, and let's bring in total sales. Total sales, okay, let's put it before transactions, and then days selling, sales per day, okay, and sales per transaction. Now suppose we want to add a slicer, okay, for year and quarter. Okay, slicer is like a filter. Okay. So we want to filter this table, January through December, your sales and transaction information, but you want to filter it for, say, year 2002 or quarter 1 year 2002 and things like that, right? So there are a couple of ways in which we can add what are called slicers. Okay, so you can go to the field that you want to use as slicer. So like for example quarter. Alright, so right click and we have add a slicer. Okay, so that will add a slicer for us, that is for quarter. Or there is another way of doing it, and that is how do you do it? I think this insert slicer here under analyze. Okay, so here you can add several slices at the same time. So here you can go and select. So now we want here. So click here. You get 2 slices, right? Now we can format the slices by, so here select the slicer and you can increase the number of columns. Okay, and same here, say you want 1 through 4. All right. And you can select styles, slicer styles. Okay, so like that. Okay, and slicer settings. Okay, you can give a different name for the slices, and here, sometimes depending upon the filter context, you may end up with certain filter selections with no data at all. Okay, so you can control what happens to your filter selections in that case. So if you select that, hide items with no data, so any selection that has no data at all, you won't even see it. If you select this, then you will see everything. Okay, but if you uncheck this, then what will happen is you will see selections with no data dimmed, unclickable, but you will see. Okay, so you get 3 options how the filter selections or slicer selections are presented to you. All right. So now if you select over here, you make selections. So now since I selected Q2, quarter 2 months show up. Everything else is now gone. Okay, and now you see 2001 is clickable. There is no data, but it is clickable. So if I change the slicer setting to, okay, so if I change to hide, then see 2001 doesn't even show up. Okay, and I click Q4, 2001 shows up, but 2004 is gone. Okay, because for Q4 there is no data in 2004, so that option doesn't even appear. Okay, so that's a slicer.